Okay, so we'll get started on it. Last week, when we caught up, we were going through workflow configuration, and we were looking at the ancient furniture project, and we tried out some of the config and stuff. We were talking about the different columns in the board, statuses, moving things from one to another. So we'll keep going with our workflow config today. So just bear with me. I'll open up new tab. So to get to our workflow configuration, we go through configuration. I'll just remove that. Okay. So we go through our little settings icon on the top right-hand corner there, and under issues is where we can find configuration for workflows. So I'll continue playing with this today, and feel free to ask questions and as we go along, and we can try some things out, right, as we're going through these settings. So we're going to go through the actual workflow that we're using here, and remember to get to workflows for a particular project, we go to project settings, and I've just opened that in another tab here, and then down to workflows on the left-hand side, and we can see here which workflow we're using. And so here we're using Jira, editable after close is our workflow. Hey Ignacio, how are you going?
Hey, I'm well, thanks, Paul. How are you?
Good, thank you. I'm a little bit disorganized today, so I'm sorry if I...
Apologies for being late. I just got caught out, but...
No problem. I was a bit slack with sending out the reminders and all that sort of stuff.
That's right. You started a new role, and let me add my congratulations to Kudzi's as well. That's well done.
Oh, Kudzi started a new role as well.
No, Kudzi was congratulating you and saying, thanking you for continuing to find the time to push us along our journey. So I just wanted to add my thanks as well.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you. Okay, so we're just...
Maybe you can get someone else to, you can delegate, Paul.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's a good way for people to learn too, is through, through teaching others. There's a really good way to learn. So absolutely, if there's anybody who would like to present in one of the upcoming ones, or for sending out the notifications and that sort of stuff, anything that you'd like to do, please let me know. And more than happy to share that around, because it's not my meetup, it's yours, right? Hey Yemen, how you going?
Hi, sorry, am I on mute? Am I on mute? Right. You can hear me? Okay,
yes.
Cool.
Yeah,
hi.
Can, yeah.
I'm just trying to work out my video, what's happening with my video.
No problem.
First time joining, but I've been trying to follow your YouTube video, so I'm just catching up, slowly catching up. So I actually start working backwards, which I think was the better thing to do.
Yeah, no problem. No problem at all.
Thank you.
And so you're in our Slack channel, aren't you?
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Into Slack channel, so that's been very helpful.
No worries. So you'll find everybody in the group is very warm and accommodating and eager to help. So any questions that you've got, please post on the Slack channel and we can chat about it. Any questions that you've got with, thank you, Kudzi. I've just seen your note there about sending out notifications and stuff. That's awesome. And a roster and demoing. Perfect. That'd be really good. So Yemen, there's a chat window in Zoom. Have you used Zoom much before?
I have.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay, no worries. So in the chat, just feel free to post any questions in there as we go along. And yeah, we're all keen to help you get up to speed and cover off all the stuff that we've gone through so far. Yeah.
Thanks,
No
Paul.
worries. No problem. So last week, we finished off looking at workflows and configuration for workflows. So we'll just pick that up again today. And the workflow that we're actually looking at is Jira, editable after close. So I'm going to edit that one. And remember last week we were talking about the two different views. You can either view a workflow as text, and this is what Jira had on offer originally, or via a diagram. They both will take you to the same properties. So if we click on a transition, and a transition is moving from one status to another. So if I click on the resolve issue transition, it'll pop up this window on the right where we can go and look at properties, triggers, conditions, validators, and post functions. And we'll talk through these today and what they are. You can see in this diagram also, when I clicked on resolve issue, it also highlighted two other transitions over here, which are the same transition being reused. So the top one that I clicked on is going from open to resolved, and the other two are from reopened to resolved, and from in progress up to resolved as well. So last week we talked about reusing transitions as well when you want to go from one status to another. So you can either create a new transition and have a unique one, or you can reuse a transition. The benefit of reusing a transition is that whatever configuration you have in that transition will be accessible wherever you use it. Whereas if you create a new transition that's still, like in this case, we could have a unique one which is going from in progress to resolved, but is its own transition. I'm going to get a bit confusing here, but it would have its own set of properties. So therefore, if you make a change in one, then those changes won't be propagated across to others. Any questions about transitions, please feel free to either pop in the chat now, or for people watching the video later, please feel free to either message me, or if you join our Slack channel, you can post on there as well. The other transition that we played with last week was this one called update values. So let's go in and have a look at that one now. So let's see, on that one, we were using a specific screen. So there's a demo resolve issues screen, and we looked at configuring the screen, adding fields to it and that sort of thing. And we'll go through these other things now. So if I open up properties, let's step through the different aspects. Okay. So there's a couple of different concepts here. One is that the transition itself has properties. And then there are these 4 tabs that will appear in the other screen that we're going to look at: triggers, conditions, validators, and post functions. And we can also edit the actual transition itself. Here we can just set a name, a description, and we can set the screen that we're going to use. We can either use no screen. So when you go from one status to another via a transition, if you select no screen, it'll just happen without any screen appearing. Or you can choose a particular screen that you want to have appear. In this case, we're using the demo resolve issue screen. All right. Okay, so for properties, I've used these sometimes and other times not. If we have a look at the closed status, and okay, 3 properties set on that one. Now, you know, before I was talking about transitions and reusing a transition. Here's a classic case. We've got one transition from resolved to close, and that uses a transition called close issue. But when I click on that one, it does not highlight these other 2. So if I select this one, from in progress to closed and from reopen to closed, these 2 share a transition. That's why they're both highlighted. And so whatever properties we set for this transition, they'll be available in both cases. But if I make a change to this transition, then it won't be reflected in this one from resolved. So let's maybe play with that now. And okay, so we can see that this one closed has got some properties associated. So there's all this gobbledygook here. So jira.i18.n.title and property value of close issue.title. A lot of this is old Jira configuration. And when we create a new workflow now, we don't get these properties. So this isn't used a whole lot now. One place that it is used though is if we want to, let's see, change the resolutions that might be available. So now I'm just going to, let me go back to our workflows. Okay. I just want to make another copy of this default Jira one. Just show you a property in this now. So if I go to closed, and I go to properties. It's going to make a liar out of me. there is a property, I'll have to find it and post it later. There's a property where it prevents editing upon close. So copy of Jira. I'll have to find it later. I don't know why that's not appearing there. Yeah, I'll find it later. So some of the properties that you will find used sometimes is to prevent editing when something is closed. Actually, that might be in the, no, I'm jumping around a lot here today. Might be in the status itself. So every now and then I have to look at this stuff as well because I get confused too when it's been a while since I've looked at it. So let's, okay. I'm going to view this as a diagram. And let's look at the properties there. And it might be the actual, okay, it's the status properties itself, I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there are properties that you can have for a transition, and there are properties that you can have for a status. So the transition properties that we have, that is not the place that I wanted to be looking at. One of the things that we can set in here is to reduce the number of, or the resolutions that are available. So you might have one project where you might have resolutions that you want of won't do, duplicate, done, etc. There might be another transition where you might, it might be a workflow for risks, for example. And so for risks, you might have mitigated, owned, resolved, actioned, or something like that as the resolutions that you want to have appear. Those, the resolutions that you have visible, you would set that via this transition properties in here. So I might, rather than try and search that in this Meetup, what I'll do, I'll just make a note for myself. And I'll put that in our Slack channel later on. And the other thing that I was looking for, sorry, was the actual status properties. So in a status of closed, we've got this property set here, jira.issue.editable, and it's set to false. So for that workflow, if I have this set, then I can't edit. Now, maybe let's try that in our workflow that we were looking at before. So I'm just going to jump back for a second. And it's copy of Jira. So this is our Jira editable after closed. So maybe let's just try this out. So if I go back to our ancient furniture board, and again, I apologize for jumping all over the place here today. So if we open up ANF 57, it's in a status of close, and at the moment, I can edit. Okay. If I go to our workflow, and in my closed status, change the properties, and I'm going to add, I'm just going to borrow this property from here. And this one that I'm looking at is the copy of Jira workflow, right? But I'm going to jump into our Jira editable after close workflow. If I go jira.issue.editable and I say false, oops, if I can spell properly, add that property. And then if I publish the draft, I'll take it back up. And I now go back to my ancient furniture issue. So here, now I can't edit, okay? So that would be one reason why you might want to use properties. So I'll go and edit this again. Go to closed and go to the properties for that status, not for the transition. That's where I confused myself before. And I can either delete this property or I could edit it. Well, actually, I have to delete it. I can't edit from here, but I could edit and set it to true, but there's really no point. Setting it to true is the same as just not having that property there at all. Now I'm going to publish again. Now if I go back and I refresh, we're looking at this ANF 57 again, which is in the status of closed. Now I can edit. Okay, so that's why you would use, or one case where you would use properties. And let's go and edit our workflow again. And we'll have a look at these other tabs. So if we look at our update values transition again, and I'm just going to open up triggers in a new tab. So triggers, conditions, validators, and post functions are just these 4 tabs that are available here. So if I opened up conditions, then it would just open up on the conditions tab here. So triggers, let's see, what are triggers? A trigger is an event that initiates an automatic transition for a Jira issue. So you might have an API call, so it could be a REST call. You might have a cron job that runs or something like that. Something to fire a trigger, which would cause that issue transition to happen. And that can be via integration with other applications or systems, could be with, if you integrate with Bamboo for automated builds and that sort of stuff, or Stash for the for source repository and that sort of thing. If you run a build, then you could automatically progress the workflow, for example, or run a workflow transition which is in place like this, doesn't change the status, but it could update some values or something like that. So that would be where you would use triggers. I've never actually used triggers. So if anybody wants to have a play around with triggers and come back to us with an example, that'd be awesome. Conditions, let's have a look at conditions. And so we've got no conditions configured at the moment, but the types of configured conditions that are available, that's an interesting one. Always false, this condition always fails. Must be a testing sort of a feature. Block transition until approval. So you could apply a block on the transition if there was a pending approval. I've never used that before, but it could be from a code, like a pull request approval or something. Compare a number for a custom field. So a condition to allow the transition if a comparison of a specified number custom field to a specified value is true. So it could be that you might have story points actually as a custom field. You might have a dollar value custom field or something. So custom fields are something that we haven't looked at yet, but you can create a whole range of different types of custom fields. There's numerics, text, single select, multi-select, date pickers, user pickers was one that we played with last week. But yeah, you can compare two numbers, I guess. And if a custom field number doesn't equate to our comparison here or our condition, then it would prevent a transition from happening. So it could be, well, you can't close it and close an issue until your number of test runs done is 5 or something like that. Hide from user condition. So a condition to hide a transition from the user. The transition can only be triggered from a workflow function or from REST. So let's try that one. Hide from the user. No, I thought I might have been able to say what user, but it looks like it's all users. So let's try another one. Only assignee. Okay, so this one's pretty straightforward. Condition to allow only assignee to execute a transition. So if I add that one, and let's use ANF 57 as our test case here. And if I assign it to myself, so we've got our condition in, only the assignee can execute this transition. So if I publish that, then that one. And if I refresh this, then under the closed thing here, I've got update values. So I can do that. I can do that transition. But if I change the assignee to Ignacio and refresh the screen, then I don't have that option anymore, right? Ah, Okay, I don't need to refresh the screen, it will automatically pick that up. So that's cool. Now let's go to diagram again. And it was our update values transition. Edit. And it was conditions that we were looking at. And so with this, I can either right click and open in a new tab, or if I just click on it from this screen, it'll just open in a new tab by itself. So let's delete that condition. And have a look here, we've got only assignee, only Bamboo notifications. So only make this transition available to Bamboo build notifications. Only reporter, so that's pretty much the same functionality as only assignee, but it's where it's for the reporter. So if I was a reporter on an issue, then I'd be able to do that transition. If Ignacio is the reporter, then I wouldn't be able to. Permission condition, let's have a look at that one. Okay, so this would pick from specific project permissions. So on the Ancient Furniture project, if I was in the group of administering the project, and this is going back to the permission scheme. So if I had the permissions of administering the project, browsing projects, managing sprints, etc., then I would be allowed to do that transition. Do you want to see that one? Do you want me to work that through? Yep, okay. So let's see, if I had a permission to manage sprints, let's do that one. And I'll publish this workflow. So it's managing sprints, right? Okay. So if I go back to ANF and I go to project settings, and we look at our permission scheme. So managing sprints, ability to manage sprints, project role in application access. Huh. Okay. Now we're in the free version, aren't we? So can I still? Okay. So in the free version of Jira, we can't modify our permissions. So I can't demonstrate this here. Okay. So this is the marketing ploy for Atlassian. Great. All right. So if I was in the paid for version of Jira, then I could modify the permission scheme. And so here we can see our project permissions, administering projects. Any logged in user can administer a project, browsing projects, any logged in user, etc. So the permission scheme that they've got in place at the moment is just wide open. Any user can do anything that's in here. So we've got managing voters, viewing voters and watchers, etc. Logged in user. Okay, so I'll need to do that in a paid version at some point to demonstrate that. Let's go back and edit our workflow again. Okay, permission condition. Previous status, so we could do this one here. Condition to check if the issue has transitioned through a specified status or not. So if we have a look at ANF 57, and we'll have a look at our history here. Let's see, created the issue. So it's gone from open to resolved. Okay, so this one, if I had status of in progress, I should be able to, yeah, there we go. So I can choose in progress. Okay, and that. So the issue must have been in a status of in progress at some point before its current status. Let's publish that draft. Okay, now Okay, so it's not available to me now, that transition of updating the values. So if I reopen it, and if I go through in progress, and now if I close it, now that it's been through in progress, then I've got that that transition available. Okay. Okay, so let's edit our workflow again. I'll play with the next one. Got that. So if I go to back to update values and conditions again, and I'll delete that one. We can also edit transitions. Conditions, sorry. So instead of being in a previous status of in progress, if I wanted to modify that and say closed or whatever, I could do that there. I haven't used these ones before. Most recent status only, including the current status, reversed. Oh, okay. So this one here, if I tick that, if checked, the issue must not have been in the selected status. So for in progress, now that it's been in progress, I would no longer be able to do that, that transition if I tick that box. Okay, so I'll delete that and let's see what else we've got. Add a condition. Okay, previous status, separation of duties. Condition preventing a user to perform this transition if the user has already performed a transition on the issue. So if Kudzi, for example, had moved it from in progress to done, maybe it's this particular transition. Let's have a look. Okay, so if Kudzi had moved it from open to in progress, or maybe it's just the same user. So it mightn't matter who the user is. So only a user who has never transitioned the issue from open to in progress can execute this transition. So that's pretty cool. Okay. Subtask blocking, condition to block the parent issue transition depending upon subtask status. This could be a very helpful one. If you've got a user story and it's got several subtasks that are not yet finished, then you might want to block it from being closed, block the parent task from being closed. Add required parameters to the condition. So we could select whichever ones of these we wanted to. And
Paul, why do I see in that list in progress repeated, done repeated?
I think this would be showing multiple workflows, so statuses from multiple workflows. So we might have subtasks which have got different workflows. I think that would be what it is. Yeah, I was just wondering the same thing myself, actually.
So it hits the status, more than once, and therefore it appears repeated, but in fact is the landing status for different specific transitions. Is that what we're saying?
I think if we had, you might have different sorts of subtasks, right? So there might be just a standard subtask, or there might be a testing subtask, or something like that. And each one might have its own separate workflow. So I think this is just kind of covering all bases. I don't think the UI is particularly intuitive here. But I think this is looking at all the possible statuses from all the workflows that might be in use, and just giving you the option to tick them all. I don't particularly like this UI though. I think it's
a little bit confusing. So if we step through one, the first block is from open, then it goes to in progress, then possibly reopen, then resolve, close, building, build broken, to do, done, then to do, and in progress, and then done. So it seems to, I don't know. I'm just sort of kind of trying to resolve it in my mind.
Yeah, to me, this screen's not very well designed. I think open, in progress, resolved, reopened, resolved, and closed. That's the same workflow that we've been looking at. They are the statuses that are available there. Building, build broken, to do, and done, I suspect that's another workflow.
Okay.
To do, in progress, and done is yet another. and
Yeah.
backlog selected for development. Unmapped, that's Kudzi's status from another project, so it's not even in Ancient Furniture. So this screen looks pretty clunky to me. I think you'd need to know what workflow you wanted to. Yeah, this one's a bit clunky. I think I'll have to do some research on that. Block subtasks.
And that is under administration.
Yeah. That's weird. Even the screen title's a bit odd. So if we add a condition here, and subtask blocking condition, yeah, so it was that one there. Oh yeah, so administration is, the UI is not really good at all, is it? I suspect this is an area of Jira that they probably haven't looked at for many, many years, or haven't devoted much love to. So I might do a bit of playing around on that one, or any of you could as well, between now and the next meetup. Try this out and play around with it, and post in our Slack channel if you wanted to. This next one, user is in any group. Condition will allow only users in a given group to execute the transition. So let's add that one and have a look. So we've got groups, administrators. There's a couple of inbuilt groups, Atlassian add-ons, for example, Confluence admins, Jira users, site admins. So if I added in site admin, so I'm in this group, and you guys are in administrators and system administrators. So site admin can add applications and different things like that, change the billing. So if I add that one, so okay, now let's publish our draft. So now here, I'll just share this in the chat. Now I think Kudzi, Ignacio, and Nikhil, I think you've got access to Integrity Works demo, the instance that I'm doing this in now. So if you just open up ANF 57, then I think you won't have access to this update values transition. Can you just let me know if that's right?
Yeah, I'm checking now.
Yeah.
ANF 57.
What are the transitions?
The transitions. I have reopen issue and view workflow.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Yep. So because you're not in the
site admin.
Yeah, that's right. Site admin group. That's why you can't do that one.
Right.
Okay. So
Same for me.
Yeah, cool. So that would be one way to limit which ones of your users could do a particular transition. Oops. Okay, all right, so let's edit the workflow again. Okay, so that was only users of any site admin group can do it. And we could change that group so you can take site admins out. And you can make it a compounded condition, I guess. So we could say Jira users, that would be everybody in the system can do it. Administrators, that would restrict that group. But you could say things like, we only want administrators, people who are in the administrators group and the Confluence users group to be able to do it. Okay. Just a word of caution down here, if you do not select a group, nobody will be able to execute this transition. So it's a bit of clunky UI again. So if I put that condition in, but I don't have any allowed groups, then nobody can do it. So I'm better off actually to remove that condition. So just be careful with that one. Okay, users in any project role. So in here, project roles. So we've got administrators and developers, project roles that are configured. So again, you could limit it if there was something, if you had a read-only project role, for example, you might want only developers or administrators to be able to update an issue, but not people who had read-only. Would be a use case there. Okay. User is in a custom field. Let's have a look at that one. So last week we had a custom field of developer. And let's publish that. So we've got a developer field here. Let's see if I can type in Kudzi. If I refresh this. That's interesting. It might not be to do with, it's an interesting one. So because I've got a developer, because my name is in the developer custom field for another issue, I can do this one. So it's, I can't see when you would ever want to do this.
I've checked, and I have update values as well in the transition. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's.
And I can see developer with Kudzi's name in the field
as well. Yep. What about you, Nicole? Can you, if you open that one up, can you see the update values transition?
Yeah, I'm just checking for. It's refreshing.
Okay.
Yes, I can see like reopen issue update values, view workflow, and developer as Kudzi added.
It's going to add the developer custom field to. Okay, so that one doesn't look like it works very well. The only people who've got a value in the developer custom field is Ignacio and Kudzi. So I would say don't use that one. Weird. Conditions again. Current user must not match the field developer. Huh. Okay. Let's just delete that. Let's try that again. So user is in custom field only allows users in a given custom field to execute the transition. But that wasn't what it said. User must. Okay.
Not in field, right?
Okay, right. Okay, so it was Kudzi and Ignacio who had that value. So at the moment in ANF 57, did you say you can do that one?
Yeah, let me just refresh.
Yeah, sure.
So there's Kudzi's name in developer, and I can see update values.
Okay, so you've got it. Yeah. Kudzi, can you update that one?
See, so I'm in it now.
Yep.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's go in field developer. Publish that draft.
You want me to reopen it?
Current user. Okay. If you could just refresh it, please.
Yeah, just refresh.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Okay, so you can do it because you have your name is set in the developer. field, I can't do it because my name is not set in the developer field. Okay, cool. So you can see that transition now, right, Kudzi?
And I cannot.
You cannot. Okay, cool.
Yep.
But if I change the developer value and you refresh your screen, then it should be reversed. You should be able to see it, Ignacio. But
Okay, let's see.
can't.
Right, my name's in the developer field, and I can see the transition update values.
Yep, cool. Okay. Yeah, I've learned something today. That's good. Okay, so let's edit this again. Text, library. Okay, cool. So the current user must match the contents of the field developer. Okay, that makes more sense. And let's try adding another condition. The conditions are cumulative too, right? So if let's just put that one back in for a minute. In the field, developer. So we can now add another condition over here. So if I say user is in group. So if I said site admins, so in ANF 57, so Ignacio is the developer here at the moment. So Ignacio's got that transition of update value. But if I add another condition here, so the current user must match the contents of the field developer. So for Ignacio, that's right. But if I say only users in the group site admins can execute this transition, so if it's set as all of the following conditions must be set, then Ignacio wouldn't be able to do it. If I said any of the following conditions can do it, and if I publish this, then I think either Ignacio or myself could do it. So, yep, so now I've got the option there, and Ignacio should as well.
Yeah, I can still see that transition. Is
Yep.
that what we expect?
Yeah, yep, so you can. So let me...
But I'm not in site admin.
That's right. So I set the condition if either of the conditions are.
Either. All right, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Whereas if I change that, and this applies to all the other conditions as well, right?
Actually, I missed that either. Is either a field that you're talking?
See this one
Any,
at the top?
any, got it.
Any.
Yep.
So
No,
if
that's
any
okay.
of
That's
the,
okay. Yep.
if any of the following conditions are true, so you are in that developer field, but you are not a site admin, so therefore you can do it. If I say all of the following conditions,
then
and then I publish it, then neither you nor I would be able to do it until I set myself in that developer field. So if I now refresh.
Yep, I don't see it now.
Yeah.
Cool.
And neither do I.
Very good.
But if I, oops, if I can spell my own name properly. And now it's there. Okay. Cool.
Sweet.
Okay. So let's go and remove that condition. Those conditions, because we've got both of them now. And what else have we got there? Okay, so we've looked at user is in any group, user is in any project role, users in a custom field, users in a group. So we're looking at user is in any group. Condition to allow only users in a given group to execute a transition. Condition to allow only users in a given group to execute a transition. They look like the same description to me.
It sounds good. Yeah.
Users in any group, or a user is in a specific group. Okay, that's weird. Might need to have a play around with these a bit more. Users in a project role. Allow only users in a given project role to execute a transition. That's bizarre. I'm not quite sure what the difference is there. A value field allows to execute a transition if a given value of a field is equal to a constant value or simply set. Okay, so let's have a look at that one. And that could be, for example, we might want to only allow the update value transition for items that are in a particular release or affected version, or where it's a particular assignee, or any of these other fields. So we've got a whole lot of different custom fields here: customer contact email, customer contact name, for example. They are custom fields, days, description. So you can get quite sophisticated with the options here. So if we wanted to say story points, for example. So if we said we only want to allow this transition for items that have story points of 3 or greater than 3. So if we said 3 points only, and our comparison type is a number, so I can sort of build up some semi-sophisticated criteria here. So we publish our draft. Now if I go back here, so because our story points are 3, then we should have that option, and we do. But change my story points to, at the top there, change it to 5, because we're using a Fibonacci sequence. And put a tick in there, then that option should disappear. If I changed that.
Yep, it disappeared.
Yeah. So if I change this to be greater than 3 or greater than or equal to 3, go back into my transition, back into conditions, and edit. Now condition, so I've said it's greater than or equal to. Now I publish that draft. Then if I go in here and I've got 5, then it appears.
Back.
Whereas if I change it to 2, then it's gone. Okay, so that's the conditions. Is there anything you want me to recover or play around with the conditions, or happy to move on? And we've got 6 minutes left, so we're probably not going to get through many of the others today.
Oh, I had a question, not necessarily on conditions, but I was just wondering, with a project, if it's set up as a Kanban project, not a Scrum project, can it be changed into a Scrum project, or can we add Scrum properties and templates into a Kanban project?
Yeah, for sure. So that's it's all represented by the board.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a, and this is a really good question. So we've got at the moment a sprint or Scrum board for this ancient furniture project. And so I can go and create I'll do this in reverse. I can create a Kanban board for the same project. And when you create a new board, you can create a board with a new project if you want to. You can create a board from an existing project, which is what we'll do here with the ancient furniture one. Or you can create a board from an existing, say, filter. So if I created a filter, then I can create a board based on that. So if I create from an existing project, and so if I've got, let's type a name here, ANF Kanban. And so it's for the ancient furniture project and its location. So boards reside within a project. So it's going to sit within the ancient furniture one. I could put it in a different project if I wanted to. So if I create that Kanban board now, then I've got a Kanban view. And so you can toggle between the boards up on the top left-hand side here. So I've got ANF Kanban. And so from here, I can jump back to the Scrum board. So the reverse is also true. If I had a project that had a Kanban board and I want to create a Scrum board, then I can do that. And you can So you can actually have both. You can have Kanban board and a Scrum board for the same project. Or if you created a Scrum board, then you can delete your Kanban board and prevent it from being accessible. Yeah, so a really good question. So let's see, if I go to Ancient Circle, just open these other ones up. I can't remember boards I had here. Ancient Circle. Okay, so Ancient Circle, we've got a Kanban board. Oh no, sorry, this is a Sprint. That's a Scrum board. IMB. Okay, so Important Bird has no boards at the moment. So I could create a Kanban board in here. Important Bird Kanban.
Do the properties carry over to the issue fields? Like in the issues, sometimes I find in the Kanban issues, or when I'm creating issue, the sprint start date and end dates don't appear, even if they're being put onto a Scrum board, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that might be. So have you got custom fields for the sprint start and end date? Or?
No, not custom fields. Just if I think someone created a Kanban project, and when I went to create an issue, it doesn't come up with sprint fields in the issue themselves. I can create a sprint using a Scrum board, but the fields don't seem right on the issues. I'm just wondering, the issues fields, they seem to be defaulted with a Kanban template.
Yeah, so you can configure the fields that appear for a particular board.
Yeah.
But the sprint, let's see, if I go and configure, so I'm looking at a Kanban board now.
Sure.
If I go and create a Scrum board as well. So if we say IB Scrum board, and so it's going to be backlog. Let's go and create a sprint. Put something in there. Start our sprint. Okay. So this one, IMB5. I go and configure my screen. I need to add in the sprint, I think. Yeah, I think I need to go and configure the actual screen. Let's see. So I add my sprint field to the default screen. Now I want to come in here. Okay, so I've got a sprint field here, hide when empty. So when you're configuring a screen, there are context fields that will always kind of appear. And then there's this option down the bottom here, hide the field when empty. So sprint, if there was no value in there, it wouldn't appear. So now if okay, let's move that up to there. Save my changes. Now if I go back to that one, back to sprint, so IMB5. Sprint, okay, so IB sprint 1 is appearing there, so IMB5. And if I go to the Kanban board, and IMB5, sorry, is there. Okay, so it's appearing there. I'm not sure why it wouldn't be appearing. You're just muted at the moment, Yemen.
I have to configure the screen and then the fields for the issue.
Yeah. So it could be that your Kanban board and Scrum board are using different screens or something, but I don't think so.
I'll see if I can figure the screen.
Probably has not been allocated to the screen yet because she said it's just been created.
Yeah, good point, Jose. So if it's in the backlog still in your Kanban, or if it's in progress but not yet allocated to a sprint, then it wouldn't appear. And it could be if it is. Yeah, good point. Thanks, Jose. So if it is set as hide when empty, then you wouldn't see that value.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Give it a go.
no worries. Cool. All right. So I better leave it there. I better get back into work. Thanks very much, guys, for attending today. If you've got any questions or anything, please sing out, either message me directly or in our Slack channel. Kudzi, I'm going to take you up on your offer of sending out notifications ahead of the meetups and stuff. That'd be awesome. If anybody wants to present, try things out between now and the next meetup, and then present in the next meetup, you're more than welcome to too. No obligation there whatsoever. But if you'd like to, that'd be great. And I'm keen for all of you guys to try things out and learn and share with everybody what you're learning. That'd be awesome.
Thank you, Paul.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Paul.
Thank
No
you,
worries.
Paul.
All right.
Thanks
Thanks
very
heaps,
much.
guys. All right. We'll see you
Bye.
next time. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
Bye for now.